to follow up on the "Are we alone?" question,
yes.
and I was just wondering your opinion on the subject. I've asked the same question of Raker as well, and Sam Harris and other great minds like that. So I'd like to.
On the question, are we
alone?
Yes. Carl Sagan was asked that question quite often, if you can imagine. And he was apt to say, "I don't know." And on one occasion, his questioner pressed him harder. "But what is your gut feeling?" And he gave the immortal words, "But I try not to think with my gut." I don't mind giving it a go. My gut feeling, if you count up the number of stars in the universe, it's an estimate, obviously. It's probably, current estimate would be something like 10 to the 22. That's a 1 with 22 noughts. That's an unimaginably large number. Until recently, we had no way of knowing how many of those stars had planets. And so it was a matter of guessing. It could have been that our sun is the only star that had planets. Now it's known by good observational methods that, if not a majority, certainly something close to half of stars have planets. So the number of planets is gigantic, is colossal. So that still doesn't actually prove anything, because it's still possible that the origin of life on a planet is a very, very, very improbable event. Many people think it is. Many people think we actually are alone in the universe. And I would only caution those people to think along these lines. If you want to believe that we are literally unique in the universe, this planet is the only planet that has life, we are alone, then because there are at least 10 to the 22 planets out there, the origin of life on this planet must have been a quite ludicrously improbable event. So improbable that any speculation by chemists about what might have happened when the origin of life happened. We know the kind of thing that must have happened. It must have been the origin of the first gene, the origin of the first self-replicating molecule. But if it only happened once in 10 to the 22 worlds, then it was such an improbable event. It's in the same class as getting a perfect deal at bridge. Not quite as much as that, but it's very, 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 very unlikely. And so when we speculate about the origin of life, when we try to develop theories, when we have test tubes in which we put chemicals and try to reproduce the events of the origin of life, we're totally wasting our time. We're not looking for a plausible theory. We're looking for a highly implausible theory. Because if it were plausible, the universe would be crawling with life. Well, I suspect it's not all that implausible, and I suspect, therefore, that the universe is, in a sense, crawling with life. That's my gut feeling. However, because there are so many stars, there could still be, say, 1 billion separate worlds, 1 billion origins of life, 1 billion islands of life throughout the universe. And they would still be so rare, so spaced out, that no one of those islands ever has any hope of encountering any other. We're talking about a kind of celestial Polynesia, where the canoes never get anywhere, and that's still an unknown. I mean, we might be visited at any time. It's highly unlikely, I think, we'll be visited by physical bodies. Much more likely by radio. The reason for that is that radio waves radiate outwards in an ever-increasing sphere from their source, and therefore they are enveloping a larger and larger sphere of planets. And so we're much more likely to be hit by an advancing wave of radio than we are to be hit by a flying saucer or something of that sort. That would be very, very, very surprising.
Next question over here.